The 7 o'clock hour. I'd like to call this regularly scheduled September 22nd City Council meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you. The agenda's been changed slightly. We have a collective bargaining meeting pursuant to RCW 4230, 140, 4A and B. And we normally don't have these type of meetings, so I would like to read that 4230, 140, A or 4A and B. Collective bargaining sessions with employee organizations, including contract negotiations, grievance meetings, and discussions related to interpretation or application of labor agreement. Or B, that portion of a meeting during which the governing body is planning or adopting the strategy or position to be taken by the governing body during the course of any collective bargaining, professional negotiations, or grievance or mediation proceedings, or reviewing the proposals made in the negotiations or proceedings while in progress. So that is the reason we will be going into the special session for 25 minutes, and then we'll return and go ahead and continue the meeting.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, is there a reason why we're doing this before versus the end of our meeting?
Oh, you bet. The reason is Ms. Cates is our legal representative from out of the city, and we don't want to have her sit here for several hours at her legal rates when we could take care of this at the beginning of the meeting. So it's a cost savings thing. All right.
I've done a lot of them, but I don't think. Oh, the fence. No.
It's the driveway. This one's around.
That's Dr. Bernstein's house.
We have anybody sign up?
Yeah. Geiger, yeah. That's over in Dr. Bernstein's yard.
Is he renting out the spaces to greenhouse?
What happened? Oh, yeah, that's
Neighboring property.
Oh, wait a minute. This is. Don't we have a public hearing? I think we do. Yeah, we do have a public hearing. We had
I'm just ready to be.
nobody signed up for the public
Dr.
hearing.
Bernstein
Okay.
next door.
Did they share the same driveway? He's the other side of the fence?
Yeah, it's on the other side of the fence.
Do you have the time? Are 25's up?
Use this at home and then
Okay.
I want the
All right.
color.
Okay, we're back in session. We're at citizen comment portion of our meeting. And Ms. Vaught, you've signed up for citizen comments.
Good evening. Nicole Vaught from Richmond Place. I want to go back on some comments made by the representative of the Realtors Association during the last two city council meetings. He has no right to judge and appraise the citizens and small business owners of Port Orchard about whether or not we have the courtesy to stay until the end of the city council meeting. As far as I know, it's still our town and our city council. I would appreciate that the representative of the Realtors Association stop his condescending and patronizing tone about us, especially considering the fact that the Realtors and Builders Association representatives have only come 2 or 3 times, while some of us have come to those meetings since forever, and that in spite of all the effort of some of you in the city council to discourage us by calling us names like the regulars that make noise, or the fact that you repeatedly find ways to a new voice to not to answer any of our questions. Among other things, I have repeatedly asked that city council one simple question: who are you working for? Because it's obvious that you do not listen to the citizens of Portershire, but you do seem to engage and listen to the Realtors and Builders Associations. Is it because of the generous contribution made to your campaign? Do we have the best city council that money can buy? And I want to read again for the nth time the Constitution of Washington State. Article 1, Section 1, political power. All political power is inherent in the people, and governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed and are established to protect and maintain individual rights. I've asked that to be put on the wall somewhere, and I'm going to repeat it until I die, but I will repeat it, because this is our government. You are our government, and you're working for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next person signed up is Miss Johnson. Hi.
My name is Tammy Johnson. I have a business downtown. I also worked for Debbie Macomb for 11 years now. I told you that before. Today I asked her what she thought about if there was 4-story buildings going in downtown. And she didn't have to say anything because the look on her face was very shocking. The Cedar Cove she writes about might become a tower of 4-story buildings. Debbie brings in busloads of red hat ladies, fans, and tourists from all over the U.S. and Canada. I just got done doing an event of hers, and I do all of her events. And there's 75 people and waiting lists waiting to see this woman. She's awesome. And how would this affect her tours? If the building heights were changed, the 4 stories are added to the middle of our town, it will look like a tunnel, and the character and charm will be lost forever. Look at Rudy's building, Rings and Things, and Dave Jeffcoat's building, where Lally Mays is now. They get it. They have beautiful buildings that kept the charm, but adds to our town. I don't understand why we can't all work together and make our town the gold mine that it is. I don't think group voters and tourists want to see or look at 4-story buildings. The only ones that will benefit are the ones that can afford the condos that will be built, and they will have the view. Well, Mansour, he will be, until Mansour gets what he wants from our town, he will hold our town hostage. I have to wonder what the homeowners on the hill will think when their view is taken away and their property value goes down. They will file lawsuits, and it will take years to settle in court. But meanwhile, our city is held hostage again. Well, we the people have a voice, and we will use our voice to inform businesses and homeowners of what might happen to our city. We will take around a petition to inform them the plans that are to take place, and would like to make this what Mansour is going to make happen. And why is it that the National Realtors Association out of Chicago is donating money to 5 people in Washington State, and 3 of them are on our Porter City Council? Why would they donate $25,000 unless they have an interest of some kind? I think the things that are in the darkness will be brought to the light, and the truth will be known. We the people are not going away. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Okay, that's the sign-ups, but you already are way ahead of me. If you do want to speak, please raise your hand and be identified, please.
I just wanted to follow up on our request for a derelict building ordinance. I went to the public property meeting, and I also sat in on the economic committee meeting as long as I could. I think there's a problem. I have to be able to review the tape. But so far, I haven't heard any more feedback from the council as to whether or not you are considering a derelict building ordinance. And I know that the city clerk has my email. I would love to hear from anybody who's willing to interact with people if that is necessary. going to be considered. I think we could work something out. It doesn't have to be one of these, how should I put it? It doesn't have to be drastic, but it's got to be something that will make downtown look nicer. I'm really not in favor of just changing things to accommodate the investors that, well, I'm not in favor of that anyway, because they already know what we stand for. But we have to protect ourselves, and we don't have anything to do that. And so I'm imploring you to start initiating something along these lines so that we don't end up with this condition again. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Please.
Mayor, City Council, audience, my name is Clancy Donlin, and I'm the co-chair of 2015 Hogfest and a candidate for City Council. And I'm here just to thank the City Council and the city for its help in Hogfest 2015. We had the turnout we expected and then a little bit more, and I believe that it brought some business to the city, and we plan on having even a tighter, better program next year. My only complaint is you did all these things for us. Why couldn't you have fixed the weather? It was windy. That's my only complaint. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
My name is Stanley Smith, and I purchased the 1636 Bay Street property. I have some questions I'd like to present. Why does most people desire to have their own commercial property, but I'm desperately trying to maintain the legal non-conforming residential triplex? I can answer that. The reason why I'm desperately trying to keep it as a residential triplex is because I don't want to become another statistic here in the businesses and have that fail. I know the residential market is doing extremely well. Why, and my other question, why is there a residential shortage in Kitsap County but such an extreme commercial vacancy in Port Orchard? Why are businesses leaving Port Orchard? Why does the code enforcer enter homes without the homeowner's permission or presence? Why does the community director make statements that it's not a big deal when the code enforcer goes into the properties and take pictures without the homeowner's presence or permission? Why did the city cry out that someone's going to sue the city when somebody's only pointing out that that it's not legal to enter someone's home without permission from the homeowner? Why does the city shut down a person from doing business in Port Orchard when the person points out its wrongdoings? Why does it take 50 days to receive written feedback from pre-application meetings when other cities in Kitsap County only take 7 or 14 days? Why doesn't the building inspector provide written documents when asked? Why doesn't the building inspector clarify what he wants done in writing when asked? Why does the community director say that his staff is not legally responsible for what they say behind the counter? Why doesn't the mayor want to hear the potential criminal or major wrongdoings of his staff? Why does the city allow the Kitsap County Courthouse, city parking areas, and certain private parking areas to be graveled and not paved, and not other people like myself that wanted to temporarily put a parking stall in there? I was told I could do that, and then now at the pre-app meeting, and now they're saying I cannot do that. Why does the city fabricate stories of people wanting to sue the city? It's been a month since I've informed the city that it's illegally sent its staff into my home without my permission or presence and took pictures. Why did the city send the person out a second time to enter my premise without my permission? Why hasn't the city apologized? Does the city feel It has the right to enter homes of peoples and port orchards and take pictures without the homeowner's permissions or presence. I've been here for a month, and I haven't had any feedback on that. I think it's a really critical thing when the government comes in to a person's home without their permission or presence and takes pictures, not once, but twice. I would hope that people here would not want that to happen to them.
Your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Seeing no one else, we'll move on. Approval of agenda. Council, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to ask that consent agenda item C be taken off the consent and put under business item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The request is to remove item C, put on the agenda item. Okay, let me get here.
7A.
7A. Discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay, we'll have 4C is now 7A.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to add to the consent agenda, excusing council members Ashby and Childs.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to excuse 2 council members, Ashby and Childs, on the consent agenda. That will be an addition. All those in, or any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. That motion carries. That's the agenda item. So we have a agenda item change. Anything else?
I move we approve the agenda as modified.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion to approve the amended agenda. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to item 4, consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, everybody's clear on the amended. We removed C. Yes, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries on the amended consent agenda. Okay, we're moving on to item 5. There is no presentation scheduled. No, wait a second here. Yep, there is no presentation schedules. We do have a public hearing. Item 6, public hearing on the continuation of interim zoning ordinance. Mr. Bond, could you lead us into this one, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of council. On August 11th, 2005, you all passed an interim ordinance concerning signage in response to the high school football stadium sign that was installed as part of the field replacement at the high school. In accordance with the requirements for adopting interim ordinances, you're required to hold a public hearing within 60 days of approving that ordinance and decide whether or not you're going to keep it in place or not. So tonight, you're holding that public hearing, and after the public hearing, you need to make a decision of whether to keep the ordinance or repeal it. As you're aware, the city is working on an updated sign code to comply with a recent Supreme Court decision, and we are incorporating these changes into that ordinance, and that will be brought through a public process here in the near future. And as such, the staff recommendation is actually that you repeal this interim ordinance because the reason that it was passed in the first place is no longer a pressing matter. The sign has been installed, and they're not seeking an additional roof sign, and it was only applicable to the community facility zone, and therefore we're recommending repeal of the interim ordinance so that we can allocate our resources towards a permanent fix on the sign ordinance. So that's the staff recommendation on this, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Council, what's your pleasure?
I think we need to open the public hearing.
Public hearing.
Okay. We hereby open the public hearing, and nobody signed up for testimony. Once again, if you would like to testify, please raise your hand and be identified on this subject. Seeing none, hereby close the public hearing. Council?
Mayor,
Yes.
I move to repeal ordinance 12-15.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion, comments, or questions? Comments or questions? All right. Seeing none, then we will be voting on repealing this ordinance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Carries. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to new item A, which is 4C. And Mr. Martin, could you lead us into this one, please?
Yes, Mayor Mathis, members of the Port Orchard City Council, citizens of Port Orchard. The 2015 budget provided funding for upgrades to information technology and contemplated an unbiased assessment of current information technology, computing, and networking capabilities, identifying future needs and seeking knowledgeable opinions on workable, cost-effective, long-term strategies to meet those needs, including various options on the operation and management of city IT services, including whether there is a benefit to partner with other public agencies or contracting for services. On June 25th, the city issued a request for proposal to 4 firms with IT expertise listed on the 2015 MRSC professional services roster, posted the RFP on the city website, and advertised for such services in the Port Orchard Independent. 2 bids were received. Centel Systems LLC bid $4,568. Keating Consulting Service, $18,620. The Centel Systems LLC bid was determined to be the best, lowest responsible bid at $4,568, including all applicable taxes. Staff recommends approving of the contract as presented.
All right, Council. Yes, Mr. Clausen.
Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to execute contract number 069-15 with Centel Systems LLC for consulting and technical professional service agreement in an amount not to exceed $4,568.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or discussion? Yes, Mr. Clausen.
Yeah, Alan, I was wondering if you couldn't maybe just elaborate a little bit on what your expectations are with this agreement. What do you hope to get out of this?
We had sought a firm that had government experience and to help us identify what the city has in place today and what is a growing city, where we might find ourselves in 2, 3, 5, 10 years out, and to help identify what steps we can do today to cost effectively put any changes in place that will help us with our IT services. So it's really an effort to identify over a period of time steps we can make to do this cost effective. As you know, IT started back in the day, and we've just kind of all agencies add on and adapt to the day-to-day tasks. But this is a chance, I think, to step back and ask what our future might look like. I'd like to read off what cities they've worked with. They've done work with Kitsap Mental Health Services, Kitsap Regional Library, Tacoma Community House, Tacoma Housing, City of Burien, City of Mukilteo, Edmond, City of Milton, Lake Haven Utility District, and Sue's Creek Watershed. So we're hoping to glean from them maybe some strategies to make this work better and identify some ways to run IT cost effective. I hope to learn a lot is the short answer.
Yes, Ms. O'Grady.
Treasurer Allen, I'm just wondering do you have any idea why the difference in the 2 quotes is substantial? 4 times?
Well, we actually, asked for 4 bids that we knew, and we only heard from the 2. And I think that the other firms tended to be more a commercial enterprise, and I think much more involved than what all we were looking for. And I think this firm pretty much understands the need of a city, and I don't think it'll be larger than what we need. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Any other comments? Seeing none. Motion for consideration is to execute contract 06915. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll move right on to reports of council committees. Some of these according to the dates, but I'll ask each committee chair. Mr. Clausen, do you have anything for us?
Nothing more than we need to schedule a meeting. The treasurer and I talked about the 30th, but Jerry's not here, so I guess we'll have to wait till we know his availability.
I can work with that date if Jerry can.
Yeah.
All right, economic development, tourism, and Ms. Ashby is not here. Mr. Cartwright, do you have anything to?
I do, and the council will bear with me. We had a very full agenda, over 10 items. I'm going to try to do a quick rundown. I see that there are some minutes that were provided, and I'm going to also try to coordinate those with what Beck had summarized as well. So the first item was Bay Street hanging banners. The fire department would like to get out of the business of hanging banners. And so it's going to be our recommendation to move towards that and put it back into, I believe, Brandy's hands.
But they don't hang them. They just administer it.
They administer it.
Local Service Club is
Correct.
actually doing the hanging.
That's correct. LTAC applications, we're going to make a recommendation to go ahead and continue to help fund the foot ferry operations and look at overtime for city staff as part of that, Chimes and Lights, other community partners, and look at an amount to be determined for a kiosk downtown, kind of a wayfinding kiosk. Talked about wayfinding system, final state information received and forwarded to the contractor. We expect final bid ready specifications in time to issue RFP before the end of the year. There is money in the 15 budget for wayfindings. Talked about the sign codes, and Community Development Department expects to have a sign code for consideration by November, I think is what we heard, Nick. The new code will be a complete new document, and we just repealed the interim, so I think we're up on that. A little bit on the comprehensive plan, transportation element, and the water, sewer, stormwater element should be ready by the year end. Talked about the Myries property. There was a request from Beck to see about having the city attorney prepare a white paper for the council in regards to not just the Myries property, but derelict buildings, poor condition buildings, vacant buildings, in what city staff can do currently with current ordinances and what the council can and can't do as well. Mayor's position on that was we're already extended on attorney's fees. So I would probably make a motion tonight if Beck and Jerry were here, but it's going to be probably brought forward to authorize that budget expenditure would be our recommendation. Summer Foot Ferry Service Committee requested the city coordinate a meeting with partners mid-October to review the success of the 15 season. And the Marina Park Overlook covering, there was a discussion regarding inquiries made by the Port of Bremerton commissioners as to why the Port Orchard City Council was not supportive of the project. Councilmember Ashby reported that she heard from two separate port commissioners that they were told the council was standing in the way of the Overlook project. We believe it was a miscommunication. Regardless, out of that discussion, I think Nick almost immediately contacted the port, and there's been some subsequent emails to the council regarding that. There was a discussion on public event toolkit, and it will be done in-house by the clerk's office. Our next meeting will be October 14th immediately following the Public Property Committee meeting, which will be at 8:30.
October 12th.
I'm sorry, the 12th. Thank you.
Okay, that's it?
That's all I have on economic.
Okay, thank you. Just a note, a general note on the last comment there about the port building. The port has since sent a letter saying that, yeah, they did get it wrong, and no, nobody had told them that the council had done any such thing. So I just want to set the record straight that part of the report was inaccurate.
Could we get a copy of that letter, Mayor?
Yes, you can. I'll send it to you. Okay, now, well, actually, it's an email. I'll send a copy of the email to you. Anyway, we'll move on now to Utilities and Sewer Advisory Committee. Mr. Patanza.
Neither have met since our last meeting.
Public Property, Mr. Cartwright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I apologize. Public property was also a long agenda, and we had over 10 items. There is minutes attached to the packet council members received tonight. So I'll try to coordinate those with my own notes. First item was the Port Orchard Bay Street Association request for fertilization. And I believe that Mark Dorsey told us that he included a line item for the 2016 budget to handle that, and it would be our recommendation that that line item be approved. We had discussed some informal parking area at the intersection of Bay and Arnold, which is it's down by the storage unit areas, and it's apparent that shipyard workers, I guess, are parking in that area and along Arnold up the hill rather than using the Annapolis Park and Ride lot. We had a discussion with a couple of homeowners. The long and the short of that meeting is we're going to go ahead and recommend that we make that a 2-hour parking zone, put in some wheel stops, and then issue residential permit parking to the homeowners on Arnold. Did I capture that correctly?
You did, but I'll have an update on the Arnold piece.
Thank you. There was a request to put it a crosswalk near the bus stop at 1800 Sydney Avenue. That's the apartment buildings on top of the hill. We had a really good discussion on whether or not we wanted to take on the liability without making that to code. There's some significant expense with an unmarked crosswalk or an undeveloped area to put a crosswalk in, which would be curb cuts and ADA compliance and rumble strip bumps and flashing and the flags and all of that, to the tune of about a $40,000 ask. What came out of that discussion and a discussion for another crosswalk at Pottery Avenue and South Kitsap Boulevard was that I believe Mark Dorsey indicated that we could get a software program that would cost $5,000 that would help assess and analyze whether there was enough usage for the crosswalk and what it would take to make it into compliance. And I think Mark might give a further update on that. We discussed McCormick Park Phase 2 RFQ process and the best way to go about looking for quotes for the design element of Phase 2. And Mr. Bond had indicated that there is a MRSC list for extremely qualified designers that have all the elements of what we want to see in the plan. And that would be the recommendation that we use that list. And I think he had indicated there's 10 to 25 potential responders, and he's going to narrow it down, and I'll let him talk about that, but that would be our recommendation, to go that route so we can get that project going. And he did provide a potential calendar for the whole project calendar, from seeking the quotes all the way to construction, and I think that was sometime in late 17 for a final project, Nick?
Yeah, we would do the design in 2016 and have it bid ready for the spring of 2017.
That's what I thought. Thank you. we were given an overview of the park survey results. It's pretty extensive, and I think you all have that, so I'm not going to speak to that much more. We had a discussion on what to do with 640 Bay Street. Did we close on that property? Not yet. So our understanding from staff to the committee was that once we close on that property, we own the liability. So there was some discussion about a desire to remove the fencing around that property, smooth that area out, and turn it into, for lack of a better term, my understanding was a pocket park type of environment. Before we decide as a council what to do with the property, I kind of expressed that I don't think I would be endorsing that at this time, because I would hate to put in a pocket park and then turn around and get it sold out from under or develop what out from under, and we're not quite sure that's what we want long-term use for that property. And I expressed, as did I think Councilmember Ashby, that we had had an understanding from the majority of the council that they would like and prefer that property to be developed as soon as possible. The end of that conversation was basically a request to get a quote to remove the fencing and, make that sidewalk or concrete usable, or put in a more permanent fencing that would help protect our liability. And then possibly start looking at potential uses or development in a private-public partnership, or what to do with the property itself. But I think we're going to need a bigger, full discussion on that, and perhaps we should have that on a work studies agenda soon after that closes. Fred, did I get that accurate?
The only thing I'd add to that is we were concerned that if we sold it outright, the city would have no say in how soon it was developed. So that's why we asked for other options to come back from staff or city attorney to make sure that we could make development happen sooner, perhaps through some kind of public-private.
Could we not make a condition of the sale, an application?
That might be one of the options that we could look into. We were just afraid of selling it and having no say over what happens to it.
Absolutely.
We discussed, item number 9 on the agenda was the sidewalk use and the DOT right-of-way downtown. It's more information's coming. There has been some communications with staff and DOT. It's potentially could go 3 right-of-ways, building, sidewalk, and state highway, and not have the right-of-way. So it'd be curb to curb for the state, sidewalk, curb to building front for Port Orchard, and then building front to building back, I guess, for the property owner. So they're still getting it. It's not dead. They're looking into a lot of history on that, and we'll get further information on that. And then the last item that we had was not on our agenda, but it was an add-on at the last minute. And this has to do with the Bethel South property, the piece of property that was formerly known as the potential dog park, or recommended to be renamed Trip Park. And I think we all had an understanding at the time that the recommendation to rename it Trip Park was that the Tripp family had donated that property to the city. What we found out was that it was not actually donated, but it was foreclosed upon by DHSH for a tax lien, I think somewhere around $60,000 if my notes have it. Regardless, there was a quick claim deed into 2003, and we bought it in 2002. Is that right, Nick? Did I have that right?
I think that's about right, within a year.
Even though it was in her will, I believe, from what we heard, her intent would have been to give the property to the city. It actually wasn't donated. The city actually purchased the property. So I think what we're going to recommend is we have further discussions on that, because one of the questions that came about was if we purchased the property back then in sorry, John, I hope I'm not dating you. None of us knew what the intent was at the time of the purchase. And so they were going to look, I think Brandy was going to look into some council minutes and see what the intent was to do with the property and the history of the zoning on that particular lot when it got annexed in. So long meeting, and we got through a lot of stuff. So that's the end of my report.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay, yes.
I think it would be helpful to look at all the minutes, because in addition to that piece of property, we also purchased a piece from her for the water tank up on top. So there was a lot of consideration on what she did for the city of Port Orchard beyond simply that piece of property.
Okay, and I think we also talked about the water tower, and so I think that's going to be part of the search.
I'd like to make just a footnote to the Los Cabos property that hopefully we'll eventually be signing papers on. The Plaza Park or Plaza or whatever you want to call it, community space idea was mine, and the idea is we have not been able to use the sidewalk because of temporary fencing. We have not been able to. It looks like just what it is. A hazardous construction site. And my idea was to do something that was really fairly economical until we have either a public-private partnership or a full-blown plaza or whatever we decide to do with it. But these kind of things take time. And what I was trying to do, and I still support the idea, is to do something there where we don't have to put up with fences that look just like they are, like concentration camp fencing. So my idea is still, and hopefully we'll be able to show that it's cost effective to actually do some use of that property that isn't treating it as a derelict piece of forgotten property. So anyway, just to set the record straight, it was my idea to do that. So, okay, we'll move on now to Mr. Chang, Lodging Tax Advisory Committee reports.
Nothing to report except the applications are due Monday at 4 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Chimes and Lights, Ms. Lucarelli.
We met, had a great meeting. Moving forward, the theme of this year's Festival of Chimes and Lights is A Dickens of a Christmas. And that falls back on the idea of we have a 125th anniversary. We're going with more of an old-time Victorian theme. And Pop says moving ahead with that theme and has lots of ideas. Our next meeting is September 28th, this next Monday, 3:30 here at City Hall.
Okay, thank you. We have on our agenda the 125th, and as you know, that was 2 weeks ago. It was wildly successful, a lot of fun, and I want to thank everyone that was involved in it. And I could spend the next 20 minutes reading off names of everybody that was involved in everything that went on that weekend. But it was a very successful weekend, and I won't read everybody's name tonight. We're at the portion that's outside agency committee reports. Ms. Ashby normally has one. Mr. Cartwright, do you have anything for us?
I have not.
Anyone else up here?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
It's not necessarily an agency report, but I just wanted to, when Clancy left, thank him for his efforts in the Hog Fest. He asked for volunteers from this group to judge the amateurs portion. There were 6 contestants down there that were submitting some wonderful barbecue.
I take it you were the judge?
I and Mr. Patanzu both judged, along with some other folks. There was 7 of us, I believe, judging that category. We had 4 different meats. We did barbecue chicken first, and then I think it was ribs, pork butt, and then brisket was the 4th. So 6 times each of those 4 meat groups. So you can imagine how we waddled out of that tent at the end of all 4. But it was some very, very good barbecue, and we did get an opportunity to walk out in between each meet group, and there was a lot of people that were down there throughout the day. It was a bit windy, but I thought it was a wonderful event, so I just wanted to acknowledge and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll be brief on my report. I am very proud for the third year in a row to read this award to you. It's from Washington Finance Officers Association, presented to the City of Port Orchard for its annual budget document for the fiscal year 2015. And let me read the inscription. A certificate of achievement in budget reporting is presented by the Washington Finance Officers Association to the governmental units which prepare an annual budget document judged to conform to program standards determined by the WFOA Budget Award Committee. And this is the third year in a row that our treasurer and his department have earned this, and believe me, it's not a given. They don't give this award out to just anybody or any city, and it's a beautiful award, and it took a lot of effort on Treasury Department and the staff down there. So please give them all a round of applause, if you would, please. Very proud, and Mr. Martin said, don't call me up here, so I'm not going to call him up here, but I want to say how very proud we all are of your department. Thank you.
I would like to mention by name Rebecca Nichols, Melissa Gaines, Heidi Draper, Deborah Walker, Patty Saltzgaber, and Corey Pearson, who did the heavy lifting on this for the third year, and I'm quite proud of them. I learned a long time ago to run around with the smart kids, and this group of professionals that you have in your finance department are truly in that. Also, I'd like to extend gratitude to the department directors, because we've made some changes through the budget process to get here, mainly for transparency and an easily read document that provides good information, and that caused extra work at the department level. And we now have it in a good process, and I think that we're where we want to be. But for 2 years in a row, they made changes to their process that caused them extra time and effort, but they participated in as well. So I'm the beneficiary of their good work. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, exciting surprise number 2. I would like to read this. Hello, my name is Samantha with consumer finance site NerdWallet. Now, that's pretty exclusive, you know. I've been on it. I wanted to reach out with a great piece of local news for you. We recently crunched census data to find the best places to start a business in our state. And Port Orchard ranked among the top 20 of 126 places. We came in at 13. So, yes, I'm just so tickled with that. So, if you would like to get more information about how this happened, go to www.nerdwallet.com, and the whole report is there. But, wow, that is great. Number 13 out of 126. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. So, anyway. Okay, now, let's see. I finished my report. Week before last was 125th. I want to thank Sharon King and everybody, like I said, that participated. This last weekend, there was several things. There was Hogfest. Clancy Donlin, I guess, has already left, but we do want to thank him. There was also down here at the swim deck, we had a kickoff for Oktoberfest. And they'll be celebrating several things all month for Oktoberfest. So if you've got any German in you, or you just like craft beers, Swim Deck's a place to go, I guess. Anyway, that was fun. That was down there on Sunday. But Saturday and Sunday, I was so impressed because we had about 70 military folks come to work on one of our parks, all voluntary. There was about 40 on Saturday military folks and about 30 civilian people that lived around there, several of them in the audience right here, that worked all day cleaning up, sprucing up, doing things for Clayton Park. and you will not recognize it. I guarantee you won't recognize it. The flower beds were cleaned. There's 5 new picnic tables installed, all painting, all cleaning. Everything was pressure washed, all the bulkheads around that park. Unbelievable amount of work, and there's going to be a special report that we're going to be creating here very shortly so that you'll be able to see some of the pictorial of what happened there. But we're very, very thankful and very impressed with the amount of work that was done up there this weekend. So all in all, this has been a great summer, and I believe, let's see, we have Ladies' Night Out coming up pretty quick. It's not over with. Don't go indoors now just because it rained a couple of times. We still have a lot of things going on downtown, and we'll be talking to you about them as they come up. So anyway, that concludes my report for tonight. And we'll have Mr. Dorsey. Do you have a report for us?
Yeah, and I'd like to say it's brief, but it won't be.
It won't be.
One thing that will be brief, and if you blink your eye, you might miss it, that's going to be the pedestrian bridge. As you know, we have the groundbreaking on Tuesday the 29th, but that project is scheduled to be started, you'll see activity out there Monday the 28th of September, and the contractor schedule that I just received tonight has that project finishing up October 29th. So that's pretty dang fast. So that'll be great to get that bridge in, and all the hassle we had with
permitting
agencies getting approval. So yeah, I'll be pleased to see that in. The second note, so Councilman Cartwright talked about the crosswalk issues. About a year and a half ago, we talked about having a crosswalk policy, and as part of a written crosswalk policy from a liability perspective, we also talked about having some sort of basis in which we would determine whether a crosswalk was justifiable from a marking standpoint, because that really has to do with the liability. And Fern Piers had given us a proposal that they've created a document or a program that allows you to input data, sight distance, pedestrian demand, speed limit, all the, sight distance, all these issues that have to go in to determine whether or not you are consciously marking, a safe crosswalk or not. And so I don't think I have that in my budget, Mr. Treasurer, but we may look at, if the council directs during the budget process, we may look at adding that back in so that we do have a basis, so that if there is a request to mark a crosswalk, at least we have a process in place in which we can look at that and say yes or no, and then have it stand up to scrutiny if there were an accident and looked at. So I'll propose that we at least get that program, work with the city attorney to develop some code that basically creates some protection and liability against liability. The other piece, so in response to the Bay Street and Arnold, so as Public Properties discussed, and I've got a little sketch, and unfortunately our overheads don't work, but it was the decision to go ahead and take that right-of-way area that's had what I'll call just kind of random parking, rather than using the Diamond parking lot that's $1.50 a day that we found out it's only at 60% occupancy, or the transit lot that's probably maybe like at 80. But instead of allowing this area to be parked just for free, we're proposing to put in some wheel stops and a little bit of landscaping and mounting, fairly inexpensive. Again, the sketch, and I can pass it down. We would have probably 7 parking stalls. That would be just defined through mainly the wheel stops. So I'll be proposing that, and then of course the code change. I think it's chapter 10.12. The stopping, standing, parking. So I'll add a 2-hour parking limit to this area, and then come back with a red line of that ordinance here in the future. As far as the Arnold Street issue, the only change that I have to the previous report is that in doing our research, I was reminded, and I wish I'd remembered during the public properties meeting, but I had forgotten, that Arnold is actually in the county.
Oh.
Yes. The houses on the west side of the road are in the city, but that's the ends. But, so that doesn't allow us to do the residential parking permit. But I did send an email to Kitsap County and basically saying, if the city sent an official letter requesting the posting through their jurisdiction of a 2-hour limit, that they would do that. So, so at this point, I'll be requesting that a letter be prepared, and whether it's a motion tonight to have a letter directed to the county requesting that Arnold be posted with 2-hour parking, because the issue on Arnold is the same issue with this area, that people are parking for free and making it difficult for the residents to manage, rather than just parking in the lots that are right there for $1.50 a day. So,
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that staff write a letter to the county requesting that the county post Arnold from Bay Street and that jurisdictional strip that we talked about to be 2-hour parking.
Second.
Motion and a second to, yes, Mr. Clausen.
Under discussion, if we post that, or if they post it 2 hours, is that going to affect the neighborhood? I mean, the residents that live there? Because without a neighborhood parking program, they're not going to be exempt to park there longer than 2 hours either.
well, I believe the residents on the west side can obtain a permit because they live in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So the residents on the
street
east
in the city, or just
the entire street is in the county, but I believe the residents, because I don't know.
The county have a residential permit?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. I made that motion with that understanding, so thank you for
So it's a bit of a, I mean, we've had some letters or emails from the people that live in the neighborhood, their concern. I can't think of any other, like if it were all in the city, then we could obviously issue a residential permit. That would be the cleanest.
I just didn't want the unintended consequences. That we kick the long-term parkers out of there, and we're going to kick the residents out of there as well.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I may, I'd like to revise my motion.
Yes.
I'd like to revise my motion to direct city staff to work with the county to help resolve to the residents' satisfaction the issue of long-term parking on Arnold.
Okay.
Which may include.
The second.
Which may include residential permit parking, 2-hour limitation, or
4-hour maybe, or something.
Whatever works.
Okay, I'm working with Jeff Shea at the county, but again, that's their jurisdiction, so I'll get with him and we'll figure a way to basically allow the residents to park. They may have a residential parking program, I don't know.
Okay, we have a request
on
for a
the-
friendly amendment to second.
Second on the amended motion.
Okay, so because we do have the friendly amended motion and a second, we'll have to go ahead and dispense with that. So any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay, so the same thing it applies, that you go back and work with them, right? Okay.
And then I'll be bringing, on the parking area, I'll be bringing forward a red line of the ordinance, and we'll be moving ahead with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, does that conclude your report, Mr. Dorsey? You said you had a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking I had one more thing, but...
Well, take your time.
Oh, no.
Don't want to put any pressure on you or anything. You got 30 seconds.
I was just going to mention the efforts of Mick Hersey and all the, everything they did.
All the folks. Yeah, we're going to have a list of them on that special report.
Yeah.
There's probably close to 80 individuals that put lots and lots of hours in. And so we're going to have a pictorial report, and Mick Hershey organized the whole thing. And anyway, it's just quite a civic undertaking that I'm so proud of. So we're going to get that report out to you. And it'll be on the website also. Is that it then, Mr. Dorsey? Okay. Mr. Martin.
Thank you. At the last work study session, council members asked whether or not a statement could be included in the utility bills or a statement statement made on the statement itself. And there is room on the utility billing, water, sewer bills, and storm drainage bills that go out on the 25th for a statement. I drafted two, for instance, statements with no direction but making it up as I go. And one is if you wanted to provide an educational opportunity to citizens, and the other one would be if you want to announce a hearing. So number one, I'll read it into the record, is a statement that would say something to the effect, or real close to, the city conducted a utility gap analysis that includes needed capital improvements to the water sewer facilities. The analysis resulted in a recommendation to increase water sewer rates incrementally over the next 5 years to meet this need. For more information, go to the city's website at www.so and forth. Or you could make a statement that said, a water sewer rate increase hearing will be conducted Tuesday, October 27th, 2015 at 7 p.m. Port Orchard City Hall. So you can announce the hearing, or you could direct people to read about the analysis and why you need to move forward on a rate increase. Yes, sir?
Would the website then also publicize the hearing?
Yeah, we'd have to put together that, but yeah, we would have the notice for the hearing, right?
So if we directed them to the website, they would get both the education behind it as well as the notice of the hearing.
Right.
I guess I'm kind of leaning towards that one.
I can't believe we're limited. Are we limited to 140 characters?
What's that?
Are we limited in the number of characters?
We are.
Wow. It sounds as short as a tweet.
Now you can put in an insert. They're a nickel a piece. It'll be about $220. You're going to have to design. That's one color. That's just the size of the envelope. So it's the lightest paper. It'd be one color, and someone would have to design that and decide what it said. And there's no cost included for that. Somebody just have to do that, and we'd have to get that out to them by the 25th. So we'd only have a couple days, and that wouldn't be my recommendation. And the other thing with that is it goes to your storm drainage utility people too that aren't affected by this, and there is some confusion on your customer base when you notify somebody of a rate increase and they only have the storm drainage, and they are confused by that.
I've got a question. Could you put it in red, that go into the website? www.cityofportorchard. whatever. Could it be in red letters?
Statements that there would
on
be
the statement.
There would be a cost to that.
Oh, okay.
I can check with them, but I think that anything that deviates from that standard statement that you're getting now in your mailbox is an additional cost under our agreement.
I'd just be afraid of it getting lost in the other verbiage on the statement.
Well, amazingly enough, people do look at their water bills pretty close.
Well, I'm just concerned that the best way to get people's attention is when their water bill actually increases in January, and I think we're trying to prevent that by any kind of notice that we can. Right. If you're talking about a $220 cost for inserts that may be worth the effort to get a message by Friday, perhaps it could contain both of the suggested messages you have in really large type.
I'd be... I don't know. I'll be blunt. I don't think you have time to put together the type of message that it really deserves in a statement like that. I mean, if you'd given me a couple weeks, I could have worked on something. But to just sit down and type something kind of worries me. But I'd be glad to do it for you if that's what the council would like to do. I would think you'd want a better piece of material in your insert thought out, Fred, rather than just putting some together real quick. That's what I think. But you direct me. I gave you two choices. I'll be glad to do whatever you like me to do.
Yes.
I think lacking a professionally done piece, it's better to get the word out however we can get the word out so people have an opportunity to see it in advance. And as I indicated before, whether we do it on a special insert with the same message or type that message in red on the bottom of the bill, as long as we get the word out. And I kind of like going to the website because that gives them the history, as well as long as we make sure that there's a notice there that they know where to go if they want to comment on it,
Yeah, I'll make sure that's.
which is the public hearing.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
I tend to agree.
I would agree that I don't think the red ink is going to be that expensive, and that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah, I'll find out about that. I mean, if it's not a crazy fee, I'll tell them to print it in red.
Yeah.
Could you make the text a little more enticing, like rate increase is coming or something?
I love Times New Roman, but anything you'd like in print would be fine with me.
I mean the font. I meant the actual message. Can you include language saying rate increase is coming?
Well, I'd leave that to the council. I mean, I don't know what message you all want to put out to your constituency. Are you looking to educate the public on why you're doing a rate increase? Or are you just saying to people, we're going to raise your rates?
We want them to go to the website, but I think we need to get their attention that they have to type in a URL to the website to look at the rate increase.
I'd direct that to your fellow councilman because I don't have to meet these folks in the grocery line.
Okay. I guess I would, having gone through a number of these meetings since I've been here, public hearings, I think directing them that there are discussions, and there have been discussions since May of 2014 about a rate increase, and there's going to be a final public hearing and an action. But to put in exclamation points, a rate increase is coming, I mean, we may end up getting this building burned down before we even have the public hearing. I mean, you don't really want to incite people either. So I think the message has to be delivered calmly that they can go to this for to get the information, but I don't think you want to incite. Right?
Okay, that may have been a little sensational. Maybe something like rate increases possibly coming. But my whole intent is to get their interest and direct them to the website so they can see the history. I'm afraid that if you put your original message, it's going to just be completely overlooked.
Well, Fred, I've been collecting taxes since 1989. And I can tell you, it doesn't fall off of people's radar when you suggest you're going to raise their rate. You can stand on top of the church and yell they're going to raise your rates, or you can just whisper it in the grocery line. When you say you're going to raise people's taxes or their fees, they tend to notice. So however you'd like to do it is fine with me.
I think directing them to the website where they can learn what went into the recommendation, and then make sure the website is clear on, here's the public hearing, you can come share your feelings.
It's a very good article just in the last few days in the Sun, too. It was very informative of the whole process.
I was just going to say that there's been press on it already. Several times.
Okay, then do we need a formal motion then to directing Mr. Martin to include that on the water bill? Or is it just all right to all of you say that's what we would like to see done? Either way, everybody agree?
Whatever. I think just
We'll
do it.
I'll do it.
And,
Okay. All right.
Oh,
Good.
and I have some other things.
Okay. Yes, sir.
We've conducted the preliminary budget interviews between the mayor and the department heads, and we finished that this afternoon, and we're in the point working with the mayor to consider some of those requests. The general fund budget is currently out of balance by $499,092 based upon targeted revenue and projected revenues. Including all funds, the budget is out $742,286. Finance staff is currently updating the sales tax, property tax, and all revenue projections for 2016. The original targeted amounts were put together in July. We're calculating ending cash balances as well that can be carried over into 2016, and we're working with the various departments to fine-tune their expenditures. A balanced budget is required to be made available to the public and the council on or before the first business day in the third month prior to the next fiscal year, which is October 1st, and we intend to meet that deadline. So with that, we continue to be very busy downstairs and work on your budget. Then also, I do want to make one final comment on the windstorm that came through. That definitely belongs with Public Works. and it's not in finance at all.
Yeah, but this is next year. It probably should be in planning.
It should be in planning. That's probably
happen
true.
next year.
That's right. That's right. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Bond, can you, you want to speak for planning about that? No, you're not
No, I
going to
do
get
not.
it next year.
I have two announcements. First of all, we received the comment about derelict buildings, and also we had some complaints, both received by email and in testimony from citizens about the Myries building downtown. I just wanted to let council and the citizens here tonight and watching online that we have initiated a code enforcement case against that, and we will be sending out a letter to them shortly. The mayor has also asked, based on our discussions, for a dangerous building abatement ordinance to be prepared, and he's asked that be brought forward at the second meeting of October. And so our code enforcement officer had already started drafting that ordinance, and he's going to work with the attorney over the next 2 weeks to get that polished so that it can be considered and can be used as a tool for situations like this. The second announcement concerning the port and the Marina Waterfront Park Pavilion, I think is what he wants us to call it. I did talk to Stephen Sparks, who is my counterpart at the Port of Bremerton. He did say that there had been some miscommunication between staff and the port commissioners, and that he understands that they have not submitted any permit applications yet, and so that the city is not holding this up, that somebody at the port dropped the ball, as he said. And I explained to him that we would be putting in the budget for next year the $5,000, so that if they want to go forward with it next year, the council would have the option to fund it under the same terms that we discussed previously, and that until the budget is passed, we haven't actually put that in the budget. And he said that he would write a letter of support for that proposal and make that formal request to the council for next year's budget, so that they can continue working on that project. So the email that was sent, I think Mr. Cartwright mentioned that an email went to the council. That actually only went to the Public Properties Committee, and so
Part of the council.
the
Thank
other
you.
4 of you did not receive that, but I think that can be forwarded. But I think I've summarized what was in the letter already.
I think you did summarize what I recall in the email. Thank you, Nick.
Okay, Attorney Morris?
No report.
Okay, Rhiannon, could you come out for a moment? I told you I wouldn't do this, but I am going to do it. I wanted to tell everyone I'm so excited that you've received your certificate for being a certified city municipal clerk. So please give her a round of applause. And that, once again, is not a gimme. That's not something you just get. That's something you earn. So I'm so proud of you. Thank you for doing that. And that was a lot of overtime work, wasn't it, or after-hour work that you had to put in to get that certificate. So
A lot of training that I went through.
a lot of training. So, yeah. So thank you. And by the way, for everybody out there watching, it's paid off already. She's stopped me 2 or 3 times going, wait a minute, Mayor, you need to think about this. So it's already paid for this, for all the effort. Thank you. Okay. I'll give you an opportunity to do any reports for City Clerk's office.
I don't have any report tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry. Not really, I'm not too sorry. Anyway, okay. That concludes the reports of the department heads. We're at citizen comment, item 11. So nobody signed up for the second comment period, but would you like to come up and make a comment? And then, because his hand was first and you're second.
The council asked that I provide them with documentation that I had earlier at the first time I was over here, and I provided that with them today. And I kind of like to just go over a couple little things in here. I don't know if you need my information. Since one of our discussions, I was told that I could, by the associate planner, when I was putting my parking stalls in that first off, she said that I need to pave my 2 parking stalls, and I told her it was just going to be a temporary thing. I hope to have developed it. And she said I would have to tear it out. But then I pointed out right across the street, right in front and 100 feet to the left, the city has a gravel parking area. They have 4-hour signs there that they only can park there for 4 hours at a time, and that's graveled. And there's also 3 parking stalls over the courthouse that have gravel parking. There's more gravel parking. And she said I was told she went and talked to her supervisor and that I could gravel it, but I'd have to sign a contract that in 3 years I would have to pave it. She said she talked to her supervisor about that. And since that time, I got the results of the pre-application meeting, and now once again it says it looks like I have to go ahead and pave that. This other document, it's talking about the stop work order, and the second one that was given to me. And that stop work order, what actually happened is the code enforcement person went out to my property once again without my permission and me being there. And so I called over and I talked to him. Why did you why do you want me to stop working now? And he said that he thought there was a violation, but he didn't know that I needed to go ahead and stop work until he could find out whether or not I violated the code. Reinforced by the community director. That was on a Friday. Come Monday, they said they don't know if I violated a stop order, and they would just do more investigation. Then later on that day, they put a stop work order saying I had to stop working on that. However, according to the letter, the email I received from the community director prior to my purchasing and the pre-application meeting, he's acknowledging that I was told that I could tier the property, and which is contradicting what the stop work order says. I see my time's out, but if you guys want any information regarding this, I know it might be a little complicated, but I'm willing to sit down with you and discuss it.
Okay, thank you. They've all received this in paper form and electronic form, all the council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir.
Nick Whittleton. I got 3 quick issues. Utility billing. If people that pay their utility bills electronically don't get a bill, they don't see, their bank sees it, but they don't see it, they won't be informed that there's something coming?
Nick, we don't send it to the bank. We send it to the customer, and there are some that we notify electronically.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
because I know I talked to a few people, and they don't see a bill.
Yeah, it's completely suppressed in that case, and we notify them by email.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Second thing, at some future time, if Central Park comes up again, please remember that all of the work that occurred there this weekend was because it is a veterans memorial. Not because it's a city park, it's a veterans memorial. So when somebody says, who's Clayton anyway? Somebody might ask them to put a sock in it. The third thing, the Los Cabos property, I think it's going to be awfully hard for the citizens of Port Orchard to look at a fenced, empty lot like that. And you really need to consider doing something to beautify it, because the whole time we're looking at properties that are blighted, in our downtown core, we don't want to be the ones owning a piece of it. So a pocket park might be a good idea, but we got to do something with it. We don't want to be part of the problem. We want to be part of the solution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Please.
I just wanted to give a quick thank you. It's understood that Public Works supported the work that was done at Clayton Park, and that Mayor Mathis supplied a huge amount of pizza. And so for all of that, thank you.
Please.
I was wondering if I have this right in my mind, because it's been a while since it's been discussed. On the water, sewer, stormwater, is the $7 per month that was recommended by, I think her name was, is it Katie Isaacson? Is that just for the water bill, or is that inclusive of the water, the sewer, and the stormwater? I was just wondering.
Stormwater's not changing. The water is going at proposed 7 bi-monthly, and then the sewer is proposed 13 bi-monthly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All right, if there is no objections, any good of the order items?